All right, welcome to today's live stream. Going to be continuing this work on this Charlie Kirk sculpture that I've started. I wonder if I want to build, well, I'll continue to work on the likeness, and then pretty soon I'll probably want to build the support for the shoulders. And so we'll see how I go about doing that, but that's not going to be yet. And let me get my references. I'll also put some videos of Charlie Kirk in the background, just as a reference for me to see. Probably have those be silent. Okay.
And we have the national champion, Wyatt, everybody. Give it up, the national championship. How you guys?
Somebody's saying, "Well, this is large. Is this you made it with oil-based clay?" Yeah, this is the cheapest, or one of the cheapest clays I could find. It's a little bit more expensive now, but it was Dollar Tree non-dry modeling clay, and that's what this came from. That's the type of clay, just melted together. Everything except the darkest two colors, which were black and purple. And that gave me this. But it's just an unbranded, non-dry modeling clay that they have at Dollar Tree, is what this clay is.
I'm like, it's an honor to be here to get to meet you, because I've always been a believer in like listening to what other people
One
have to
sec.
say.
Let me. I actually need to go grab something.
And I just want to ask you a question. Do you like the new name for the body of water that was formerly called the Gulf of Mexico? Oh.
The Gulf of America.
All right. All right. Do you also agree with the renaming of the mountain in Alaska that is known as either Mount McKinley or Denali? Do you agree of Donald Trump's renaming of, or I should say President Trump's renaming of that back to Mount McKinley?
I'm generally sympathetic. I can see where you're probably going with this line of questioning, and we'll see how astute you are.
No, I'm just curious to see what your opinion is.
No, it's fine. No, it's okay. There's a third question you could ask that would be pretty smart, but go ahead.
It's a name. A name's a name. I'm planning on becoming a teacher, so.
No, it's fine. Maybe you're not going there. That's fine.
Yeah. If it says Gulf of America, I'll play Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, just
Yep.
the Gulf, whatever it is. It's a name's a name. I'm sure you here in Oklahoma probably still call what is now today Hurricane Harbor. I'm sure some of y'all still call it Whitewater Bay. So a name's a name. I was just curious about that. Your opinion on that. It's a pleasure to meet you, Charlie, and
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
glad that I could come out to meet you.
Thank you. Let me just say one thing. A name is a name, but name should reflect meaning. And so if a name fails to reflect meaning, then that name should be either reconsidered or brought back to the root. Many of our ancestors, their last name would actually be either their profession or the tribe that they were part of. For example,
Yes,
Abraham.
That's my last name. My last name translates to free person in Czech.
Oh, well, very good. So Abraham means father of nations. Moses, for example, means out of the water or redeemer. Jacob means by the heel because he was born literally by the heel or usurper. Isaac means laugh because Sarah laughed at the idea of having him. So names actually used to really mean something, and I love this idea of bringing naming back to meaning. It's not just semantics. Semantics literally means meaning in its original Greek. Thank you very much.
I appreciate
Thoughtful
it, Charlie.
question.
Congrats,
Thank you.
Wyatt.
That was a great question. Yeah.
Hi, Charlie. Is it okay if I record this for myself?
Of course you can. Yeah.
So, my name is Jacob Norwood. I'm a junior in high school, and I have a lot of friends who are born from illegal immigrants. And I was wondering if you agreed with the abolishment of the 14th Amendment, which allows birthright citizenship.
Yes, I do. I don't think it's going to hold up, but I do believe that the 14th Amendment was not intended for anchor babies, correct?
Well, I thought it was intended because people who would be brought over here during slavery, and then their children would then have birthright citizenship, and that was kind of the point.
Slaves were granted.
Okay, sorry about that. I had to
They
grab
were granted citizenship after they were brought here forcibly.
some more lenses in
But the
case I need
kids of
to
citizens are kids, though.
switch them and go to the bathroom.
What is the difference in immigrants?
Somebody's saying, isn't it hard to work with oil-based clay in that large of a scale? I would assume it's harder to make those large plastic changes. It's a little bit. Water-based clay is a little bit easier, but this is a pretty soft. Usually you just use a softer clay, a softer type of clay, and that helps.
He said, would you still be a white supremacist if you were in a more diverse work field?
So do you think I'm a white supremacist?
I have no idea if you're a white supremacist. My dad has watched a lot of you. He said, if you weren't out here preaching hate and working on your three-pointers, do you think you would probably be better at that?
I'm not even going to justify. You should be ashamed of your father.
I'm definitely not. My father's an amazing man.
Yeah,
he cares about American citizens.
Your father
and all
peddles
their rights.
lies. I'm not a white supremacist. Honestly, shame on him. For someone that runs an organization called Blexit, do you even know what Blexit is?
I do not.
It's literally, we employ 40 black Americans that work in Atlanta, Chicago, and Philadelphia, trying to improve the well-being of inner-city black America. What has your father ever done for inner-city black America other than call me a white supremacist? And by the way, secondly, it's just so ridiculous. It's like, it's somehow...
people for your companies or whatever you do does not make you a
so
white supremacist.
What is a white supremacist?
A white supremacist is somebody who takes advantage and believes that they are higher than everybody else.
Do I believe that?
I have no idea.
Okay, exactly. And so there's no evidence whatsoever, and yet people go around sloppily saying, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist. It is so destructive to our dialogue. It's destructive to us coming together as a country, and there's nothing to support it whatsoever. So thank you for your time, and shame on your father for peddling that crap. Why does it feel like losing weight is harder than ever before? I mean, look around. Most people feel stuck.
Are you planning to cast this one once it's done? Maybe, I don't know. I'd have to find a patron or organization that was interested in doing a Charlie Kirk memorial. But I don't have any thing like that lined up so far. But they would have to supply the funds for that, because for something this large, the bronze casting process is very expensive, so I wouldn't be able to do that on my own.
I just scored an internship actually to start off with, shadowing political journalists and everything, and I was super excited for it. I thought it was going to be my start to my journey of success. When I have come to find out, majority of my peers and mentors, or people I even looked up to in the office that I work at in the news station, they have told me since I am a Republican Christian young woman that I probably won't succeed. And as someone who I've spent my whole life researching, dedicating my life to studying this, it's been very hard for me to continue to want to go into this field when I keep getting put down by the people that I look up to for, one, my gender, and then two, even my Republican Party for my morals. So I kind of just wanted to ask you, I know you see so much and you read so much about yourself, what keeps you to keep going and gave you that motivation to keep speaking your truth with your morals?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, you will succeed in journalism if you just outwork the other people. Secondly, there's a lot of these journalists, they're not going to have jobs in 5 to 10 years. I mean, media is changing in real time. My advice to you is, first and foremost, there's a ton of communication directors' jobs for senators and congressmen. Mm-hmm. There's local news stations and more conservative ownership. You'll figure that out.
Yeah.
You have to silence and mute the noise and know what you are good at, mm-hmm. and follow your skill regardless what people are saying, and then say yes to every single opportunity. If you outwork everybody as an intern, that will be noticed. Mm-hmm. That will then be rewarded, regardless of your political affiliation. And honestly, all that opposition should only make you want to fight harder, will make you stronger, mm-hmm. and will make you a better person in your career in the future. So, God bless you.
Thank you so much, Charlie.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, I am a Republican student at the University of Central Oklahoma. I have a liberal family, and it's not always easy, but I was going to ask you about immigration. So I know that we don't have an obligation to help Mexico, but is there incentives to help Mexico to make America better? And if so, what policies that we can support that would help that?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first way that we could help Mexico is probably the most controversial, which is to eliminate the drug cartels. And that is very controversial because that would take military action. And President Trump has played around with this idea. I have no idea what he's going to do. Mexico is basically controlled by 9 families. And most importantly, the Sinaloa drug cartel, which you guys might think that that's a foreign, distant problem. Almost everybody in this audience has probably lost a friend to fentanyl or somebody that deals with hard drug use. Almost all of that is produced by the Sinaloa drug cartel and is trafficked right up into communities in Oklahoma, all across this state. So the best way we can help Mexico is not through giving them money or just cash. We've given them hundreds of billions of dollars over the last 30 years.
It's so amazing to see a large sculpture being made. They have an aura to them. Yeah, it's fun to work in this size. This is the largest portrait that I've done so far. This is about 1.5 life size, 1.5 life size, 1 to 1.5 or so life size. Maybe even getting closer to twice life size. Though Charlie was a large. He was a big guy. He was 6. What was he? 6'5". So he had a large. He had a large head. So maybe it is about 1.5 life size. Though it's like closer to double my head size. But yeah, it is fun working on larger, like more monumental size sculptures. It'd be fun to, if the likeness is good on this one, I'd love to do the full figure. this size. So we said hi, hello, welcome to the live stream.
The best thing I think we could do is targeted military strikes against the Sinaloa drug cartel and liberate them from their current captivity. Secondly, though, they're actively hurting our country. And that's the first question we got from the guy is, what do you mean you're being invaded? We are in an active, hostile, combatant conflict with the Sinaloa drug cartel. What do you call it when 100,000 of your own people die of drug overdosing, of foreign-made drugs that are being purposefully pumped into your communities? That's a poisoning of the country. And yes, everyone has agency and they make decisions, but they make it, first and foremost, a lot of people overdose now on drugs thinking they're taking a much lower level recreational drug that is laced with fentanyl. Now, you shouldn't do any drugs, guys, obviously, but unfortunately, we are seeing the intentional destruction, especially of working age young men in this country. The drug epidemic disproportionately is taking out young men in this country. And so that's what I think we should do to try to help Mexico.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it, thank you. We'll take a couple more, any disagreements can come up.
We are for gun rights, and I'm totally against guns. But I understand the reason why some people need guns, and we can both agree that the wrong people get guns in their hands. But in some states, you don't need a background check for some guns. My question is, what laws do you think should be passed to prevent the wrong people from getting guns?
It's a good question. Let me ask you where you're coming from. Do you believe owning a gun is a right or a privilege?
I think it's a privilege.
So I think it's a right, and that's okay. Let me tell you why. I believe the right for a free people to be able to defend their family from foes, be able to defend their family from government potentially coming after them, is a right given to them by our Creator. It's not given.
I'm so glad I fell
We do
upon
not
this.
have a
Thank
free
you.
society.
Yeah, no
We
problem.
have an armed society.
How tall are you, Mr. Andrew? I think I'm 5. I'm
So
like
let me ask you a question as far as
I think I'm like
so we can think more
5'9.5", 5'10", somewhere in there. I'm not super tall. I'm like the average
Why does it make
in the
sense
U.S.
then that we guard our sports
I
stadiums
think
and our banks?
I'll
and our
say
airports
5'10",
with guns?
but it might be a little bit less.
What
Between 5'9" and
are
5'10".
you
I haven't
against
measured
guns
myself
for
in a while,
technology,
so.
or are you against the people that use guns for evil?
But I'm about average height
Right. So
in the
maybe
U.S.
it's much more of a brokenness of humanity.
So
problem or a
so
sin
Charlie was
problem,
like
not the
what
actual
is that,
attack
like
itself.
7 inches? 7 inches taller.
Yeah,
So
the
yeah, he
laws,
would have been
we already have federal
very
laws on the
large.
books. We do have, federal background checks that are not always enforced. But honestly, I think we should have less gun laws, not more. I know people disagree with this.
There was there was a missionary that I served with who was 6'8", 6'7", 6'8", something like that, and kind of a similar build to Charlie, thinner but really tall, and when I stood next to him, I just looked like a little kid. It's just, but then I served most of the people that I worked with. I was a Spanish-speaking missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I was serving in a Spanish-speaking mission in the United States. So people that were here in the United States, but preferred to speak Spanish. That was mostly who I would work with. I would teach and the wards and areas where I would serve in. And so among Hispanics, I was actually pretty, I was tall. I was so it made me feel tall. But then if I go to I went when I went to see Stan Prokopenko and his team. Stan's actually pretty tall too. I think he's like 6. What is he? He's like 6'2" or something. But he's I don't know. I shouldn't say because I don't remember exactly. But I remember he was quite a bit taller than me, and I just wasn't expecting it because he's kind of got a baby face, and I remember standing up next to him and thinking, oh wow, he's taller in person than he seems on camera. And so I might be the opposite. I might seem taller on camera, and I'm probably a little bit shorter in real life.
But I'd love to get your response, because it's a right. People should be able to protect themselves as they see fit. In states that generally have more guns, not less guns, like Houston, yes, you do have some more gun deaths amongst inner city gangs, but violent crime tends to go down. And so I don't want to disarm peaceful, law-abiding people just because some people abuse that tool or that technology. And so when you look at gun deaths in this country, there are 30,000 gun deaths a year. 2/3 of them are death by suicide. Okay, so that number shouldn't even been in there. The vast majority of the gun deaths that are related, that are the ones in the remainder, are individuals in gangs and inner cities that use guns in kind of gang violence. So really quickly, what is your issue with guns in America?
I think it's pretty easy for anyone to get a gun, and that's kind of a problem.
Okay. We just disagree. I think that you should be able to own a firearm and protect yourself. The minute that the government over-involves itself in the selection process of who can own guns and who can own firearms, we start to run into major issues. We will cease to be a free people if we are not an armed citizenry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your American dream starts with purpose. Find
My name is Jaron. I'm a mechanical engineering student, so not an expert by any means on politics or anything related to politics. But I disagree with some of Trump's actions, and I wanted to know sort of your opinion because I haven't heard you voice it. Okay. Trump barred AP News from the White House because of their disagreement about the Gulf of Mexico and the Gulf of America. And I feel like that's a violation of the freedom of press, and I just wanted to know what your opinion on that was.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, he didn't bar them from publishing.
Mm-hmm.
He simply, being in the White House press corps is a privilege, not a right.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, not every blog or publication gets to be in the White House press corps. I want to be in the White House press corps, and I gotta call the president and try to get that done, right?
Yeah.
So it's a privilege. The White House has every right to be able to say, hey, you're not acting in a certain way, or you are not reporting things that are factually or accurate, then you're not allowed in. That was a bubbling up problem with the AP. It was like 10 different instances, and it just kind of hit a crescendo point. But it's not violation of freedom of the press in the sense where they weren't like, hey, you're not allowed to publish articles that say Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
Think of it this way. Think of if you're having an event like this, and some guy with a bullhorn shows up and starts heckling you, right? And hey, we spent money for the gates and security and for all this. Do we have a right to kindly say, hey, let us do our event? Of course we do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree that it's perfectly legal to do that. I think it's, I don't know, I really like a lot of what AP News does, even if I disagree with articles from every news source, right? I tend to be more moderate, right? So I disagree with CNN, I disagree with Fox News, right? It just depends.
Hey Charlie, what's up? Can you hear it? All right. Hi Charlie. My name is Taylor Patel. I am a junior here at Oklahoma State. I bleed orange, family, always. So I do finance, and this was the first election, the election we just had, 77 million votes, baby. Let's go. You should clap for that, probably. Okay, so this this election was the first election that I've got to vote in, and I was proud of who I voted for, and I don't think I have to say who I did, because I think it's pretty obvious. But I think America has a kind of, existential problem going on. Can we be considered a democracy or a constitutional republic if we only have two parties to vote for, really?
Yes, I think the existential crisis is different, though. I think that the bigger issue is whether or not we could be I think we're a republic, not a democracy. That's a separate issue. If a unelected group of judges can stop a president with a nationwide injunction from doing what he told the voters he would do, that's a major, major problem. That is the local nationwide injunction issue is the greatest existential crisis. So the question of more parties is always brought up. We have libertarian parties, we have independent parties, but if the Democrats won't splinter themselves, why should the Republicans splinter themselves?
They shouldn't, really.
Yeah, so it's kind of a deadlock, and I have a lot of problems with the Republican Party, but it's the lesser of two evils.
That's kind of what a lot of people, I think young people, think of when they go to vote, is that it's the lesser of two evils. Whether Democrat or Republican, which one makes more sense for them, who benefits their family, whether instead of thinking of the whole country as a whole. But then there's this middle ground, this America that doesn't have a voice. People who are moderate or independents who don't feel that either party will give them a proper say in our government, so they choose not to vote at all. What would you say to those people who probably didn't vote in this last election or in any election to make them vote, really?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it's a good question. In this last election, I mean, Donald Trump had two people that ran for the presidency as Democrats in his cabinet, Bobby Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard. It's never happened before in American history. He's bringing people from the other party actively onto his team and into his team. So I think that's much more of a unity party. But my message would be, look, you have to weigh both of the options, vote your values, and I believe that the conservative movement is a much better place for people that believe in free speech, common sense, borders, and hands off our kids. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I just have one last thing to say. I know it's a little cheeky, but will you sign my hat?
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
You can just look at me. So you see me? Can you see me? There's ASL access too, so alright. Hi, my name is Logan Evans. I'm deaf, and I'm honored to be here to have this opportunity to speak with you today. And it's really interesting debate so far, and I've learned a lot. But my question for you is, do you believe everyone in this crowd have equal access to information? Should they have that?
Well, first of all, I think the translators are doing a great job. You should give it up for them. That's not easy. So, and especially with all the back and forth. Ideally, of course, yes. But I will say that some people in this audience, for example, would love to see the entire thing, but they're not up close. But I'm really glad that you're able to have a translator that can make you as possibly part of this event. And so I think, and they're doing a great job.
Yes, thank you for being positive and saying stuff like that. But in California, when there was the wildfires happening, you posted something on social media that said that a person should not be interpreting on the screen. You should get them out because they're a distraction. And I lost a lot of respect for you that day.
Yeah, that's fine.
You said that closed caption works for everybody, right? But you have to understand that American Sign Language is a critical point for the deaf community to access a language. And the entire deaf community lost a lot of respect for you. You said, get the interpreters out the way. That's a distraction. But you just said everybody should have a right to equal access to information. So, what do you believe about that?
Right. So I've had a couple very respectful deaf people come up to the event. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I was educated on the difference between ASL and closed captioning, and that some deaf people don't actually even, it's a first or primary language, meaning closed captioning might not relate to it. I don't want to dwell too much on it. I even said to someone at USC she might have changed my mind, so never meant to offend you. It wasn't meant in that way. I did a whole show on it. Be happy to send that to you so you could view it. But thank you for your commentary on that. And look,
One more thing.
That's fine.
One more thing. But deaf people have already changed their views on you. You look like you are against people with disability. You're an artist. So first, we really appreciate you and coming into social media and be including in closed captioning. We do appreciate that portion. And everybody should be more inclusive as well. But also having interpreters, you have to understand that American Sign Language, through its history in the United States, see, Abraham Lincoln was involved in it. I mean, everybody was involved, and it has multiple years, hundreds of years of discrimination trying to get rid of American Sign Language. And this information is vital to our community. And yeah, you're right, closed captioning is great, but without interpreters, we can lose lives. In the wildfire that happened, that you specifically commented on, or Oklahoma, we had wildfires here too. It's super important to make sure that we're giving the information, because you're going to lose a life. You have to understand that.
Okay, got it. I will say though that during the wildfire, I think there were interpreters, but point taken. Happy to learn more about it. Thank you for the respectful information, and I meant no offense to you, and thank you for being here. And thank you again to our great translators.
Thank you so much. I mean, can I say something to the crowd as well, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
I just want to say, I want to thank you so much for letting the deaf people to come in here and having access as well. But as you can see, there's an ASL group over here. They're signing right now, and I don't know. Would you mind looking at the ASL group? Do you have a second? Just peek your head around. Right there, right behind you, literally right behind you. A little bit more. Great. And I just want to say thank you for the people that let me through and let me ask my questions. And it's an honor. Can I give you a sign name? That's a huge thing to be accepted in the deaf community. So will you copy me right now? Can you copy my signs?
Yeah.
Do you see the C and then K, right? So C, K, right there, C, K. It's about your distinctive facial features. That's what we do. C, K, C, K. Everybody, copy. C, K. There we go. Yay!
Thank you. That's very. Disagreements, guys, are welcome to work your way to the front. Yes, sir.
Hi, Mr. Kirk. My name's Max. You aware that today is April Fool's Day? All right. Well, I'm also aware that it's April Fool's Day, and I have an opinion of somebody who's a fool, and I think you would agree with it. Somebody who worships the creation rather than the creator.
Like Romans 1.
Like Romans 1, that's what's on my sign. Here, let's let everybody see it. I do have a point, though. As a Christian, I want to see everyone here's heart turn from the creation to the creator. Maybe they're worshiping themselves, but I want to see them turn to the creator. And I think you think something similar. When I look at the New Testament, I see that the way that's going to come about is through preaching the gospel, right? But I also want society to change. So my question for you is more of an advice question. As a Christian who wants to see the world change through the death and resurrection of Jesus, how much of my effort should be put towards preaching the gospel? And how much of it should be spent lobbying for policies? What's more effective? And, maybe it's not an either or thing, but I think a lot of times, especially conservative Christians will take the policies without ever telling anybody about Jesus.
Well, we need both, right? So first and foremost, thank you. Everyone should give their life to Jesus. It's the most important thing that anybody can do in your life, number one. We have seen a hyper-feminized gospel the last 20 or 30 years, and it's a big problem. We need a resurgence of a masculine gospel, which is one that is unafraid of telling the consequences of sin.
Hell.
Right, with a sin and hell. So we talk a lot about a savior, but how can you possibly know you need a savior if you don't talk about sin? And so how do you know you need a savior if you don't know what you're being rescued from? And so we need to instruct and talk about how we all of us, myself included, all of us, on a daily basis fall short of the glory of God. We are violating many of the 10 Commandments almost every single day. And we need Jesus to save us from our wretched, depraved, natural nature of being broken. So what does that mean for you? Well, we need all parts of the body. The first of which, I believe in Galatians 3, it says that the law is a guardian or a school teacher to Christ. That for some people, they are going to come to Christ by first thinking through conservative values and principles and seeing it make sense. And once they start drinking from the streams of liberty, they're going to want to find its source. Because liberty is not man's idea, liberty is God's idea. And for other people, though, it's outright preaching the gospel. Here's my last piece of advice, though. Do not just preach the gospel and try to get converts of all nations. We are called to make disciples of all nations, which means you must go deep. You must preach the entirety of the Word of God, every word. You must be expositional in the way that you do it. But you must make people understand that there is a judgment coming for all of them. There's a God who loves them that sent his son on a rescue mission to save us from that.
Amen.
And it's not just It's not just all rolling hills and lovey-dovey messaging.
I'm with you. Thank you.
Thank you, man. God bless you. Thank you. All right, any disagreements can work them way to the front. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Charlie. My name's Akash Patel, and I drove an hour and a
Kash
half.
Patel?
Yes,
You're the
Akash,
FBI director.
With an A.
Oh, okay.
It's AKASH.
Gonna say,
And
the FBI director's here.
I'm an educator. I'm a college instructor. I don't know if you get very many of those to come up here.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay. Well, I drove an hour and a half from Norman, and I want to just talk about, okay. I didn't go to school in Norman. Okay. Well, so I just want to talk about my turning point and ask you a question, because I used to be on the center left, and I'm on the center right. And I'll tell you why. It was a few years ago I was elected as the president of the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages. I'm a Spanish instructor, and these organizations have become so woke that the first thing that I was tasked with was the majority woke board of 14 members were deciding if they need to cancel the contract of a small Mormon business that sells textbooks. This is the party that is against book banning and wanted to cancel the contract of a small business person who's a Mormon because the Mormon founder made a donation against gay marriage 15 years ago. Because this guy right here stood up against it, I faced retaliation. They stripped me of my duties as the president, but despite all of those odds, I was able to demand for the resignation of the executive director who makes over $400,000 a year pushing ideological indoctrination on the left, and restore the contract of that small Mormon business. Now, this is not an isolated incident, Charlie. This is happening in nonprofits all across the country, and I'm so pleased President Trump is doing something about college campuses, stripping them of their funding so that they can become more safe spaces for people of all perspectives, all walks of life. What can you do to leverage your influence that you have with the Trump administration to make sure nonprofit organizations like this one that I ran has a budget of over $25 million, gets hundreds of thousands of dollars in government funding, gets stripped of their government funding for pushing this kind of ideological extremism?
Give us the name. I'll give it to Elon and Doge.
I've got a letter
All
for
right.
you.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akash. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
So this shows all the stuff we have to cut, Akash? Is that right?
Yes.
All right, I'll give it right to
Yeah,
Elon.
and that's
all
got
right?
my address too.
We're
so-
going to cut this baby
Yeah,
really
well,
quick.
the other thing, just quickly, the other thing they also pushed, we have an annual convention of over 10,000 educators. They pushed a policy that they're going to deny convention contracts to convention centers in cities with anti-trans legislation. Talk about it. We're serving teachers across the country that teach languages to students all across the country. So please, do something about it.
We're on it. Thank you,
And
Akash.
thank you, Charlie, for being here.
Thank you.
Howdy, Charlie. Welcome to Oklahoma State University, obviously. I have a small disagreement with you, but part of this is just a question. In the past 10 years or so, you've switched your views from an idea of having a more secular governmental structure to believing that there should be more religiosity in government. While obviously that's working for the moment with the Republican Party, I was wondering if you think long term that's going to continue to, if you believe that's going to continue to be an effective political strategy, because I mean, if you're looking at Pew Research, there's way more students of our age and lower becoming non-religious than there are, new religious citizens of the United States.
Yeah, I don't care as much about the political strategy. I care about what's right. And I will say, though, that church attendance is actually slightly going up. Young men are moving back to Christianity in massive numbers in this country, so keep that trend going. But yes, there are 3 documents, when paired together, show the Christian essence and nature. The first is the Mayflower Compact, which is our birth certificate, and then is our Declaration of Independence, and then the Constitution. Those 3 documents together show the Christian basis of the United States of America. And look, I do not want a theocracy. I want a free society. I think if you want to reject God on your terms, you should absolutely have the agency and the ability to do that. I do not believe, though, in a separation of morality and state. At every corner, people are going to make calls or judgments. What is good or what is evil, what is right or what is wrong. And I believe that Scripture should inform that. I believe that Scripture has informed Western morality and should continue. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this will be the last question. Anyone disagree? All right, you got a Hillsdale shirt on, man. Yes.
Okay, so
Then we'll do one more disagreement. Yeah.
I'm a sophomore in high school. I attend the Academy of Classical Christian Studies in Oklahoma City. And I just had one question. I have an Oklahoma history teacher who's been trying to tell me in our class that we should feel guilty for what our ancestors did. How would you respond to that?
Well, is this at a classical school?
Yes.
Is it a Hillsdale school?
No, it's not, doesn't have anything to do with Hillsdale, but it's a private Christian classical.
Stop going there. You should never feel guilty for something you didn't do. Very simple Christian principle, okay? That neither slave nor Greek nor Jew, we are all one in Jesus Christ. You are not responsible for your father's sins. You're not responsible for your grandfather's sins. You and you alone have to atone in front of the seat of Jesus Christ in eternity. This is a Christian principle that gets distilled in. You should not have to apologize to somebody just because you look like that somebody, nor should you be given favor because somebody did something very good 100 years ago.
Okay,
Yes,
and also,
thank you.
May I have my book?
Yes.
When your question is actually a bunch of questions.
When's the best time this weekend to host a backyard barbecue? And what's something impressive I can grill that I don't have to stand right next to the whole time?
Just ask Google.
Someone says, continue, you're a pro. Well, thanks. I'm working on it. Hello. Okay, sounds good. I'll just be working here, if that's okay. Okay. Bye. Love you. Bye. Someone is saying, "Hey Andrew, I think this is the best portrait you've ever done." Probably. Yeah, probably. I'd say that that's probably accurate. Trying to tackle the eyes again, they're very tricky. On anybody they're tricky, but especially when you're trying to make it look like a specific person, the eyes can really make or break the portrait. So this is probably the third or fourth time I'm sculpting the eyes. That's just how it goes sometimes. In every condition, in sickness and health, in poverty's veil, in abounding need, at home or abroad, on the land or the sea. Days may demand, some days may demand, days may demand, so thy salvation. Somebody says this will be a masterpiece. Thank you, I appreciate that. Awesome progress, Andrew. This looks great. Are you going to make the bust as well for this one? Yeah, that's the plan. I need to build the structure with some additional 2x4s for the shoulders, and it'll be quite wide. And then I purchased some more clay. It'll be slightly different color, a gray clay that I'll use for kind of the shoulders. And I plan for him to have a suit similar to the photo that's on the screen, suit and tie. But you know, it's a large sculpture. Shoulders will probably come out to around here, so I'll need to build a structure, probably with wood first, and then some wire over top of that, probably, and then put clay on top of that. But the whole thing will become very heavy, and so I'm just trying to work out the details before I have all of this mass on. So I really want the face to be coming together and to feel like it's accurate before I go on and build out the shoulders. But the plans are at least the shoulders, and then maybe have it come in, and that's kind of a standard bust. But then if people, if it, I think the camera ran out of battery. Let's see. Oh yeah. Let me switch cameras. 1 sec. One sec, let me get the other camera going. Camera that I have runs on battery, but then when the battery runs low, it shuts off. I have it plugged in, but it still uses up the battery. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. The other camera that I had shut off. So this is, I switched cameras, but that should be good. Yeah, so the plan is to do the whole bust and to do the entire figure. I'd love to do a full figure of this. My concept, some other people had the concept of Charlie Kirk being with his microphone at the table that he would sit at. My idea was that he would be sitting at the table with the microphone, holding the microphone up to Christ that's at the same scale. So him having a conversation with Jesus Christ, holding the microphone up to Jesus Christ. That's what I would like to do if I had, if somebody gave me the resources to be able to sculpt something that large and that scale. That's what I would choose to do. But we'll see if that ever happens. It says you can just feel all the passion and time you put in after you're done. Yeah, it's a lot of time and energy, and I've been trying to work hard on this one. So after you're done with this sculpture, what is the next project you'll do? I don't know. I have some other ones. Somebody was asking for a larger version of the father and son sculpture, so that's probably one that I want to try to do. I need to get back into doing some stone sculptures as demos for the stone sculpting course. I want to do a couple more of those using some chisels that I actually just recently got. And so those are some other things that'll be coming up. I've liked this project, and even though I don't have a buyer or anything at this point, I felt that it's worth the time and energy that I'm putting into it. So he says that's going to look even better. Yeah, with the shoulders, I think it will. Build a presence for it. But again, it's going to be. I'll need to build a structure for that, and that's going to be a kind of a big change in and of itself. And I need to melt some more clay. I need to mix some more clay. I got like 100 pounds of a cheap clay, so I need to do that. So he says that's a wonderful idea. Okay, we're back. Yeah, that's a wonderful idea as far as with Charlie Kirk and Christ. Yeah, I like that one. I'd like to do something like that. Let me see if the settings might be a little bit bright on this camera. Just don't want my skin to be blown out in the footage. Will you do a review on those chisels? Yeah, I'm planning to do that. And then, in fact, I wanted to compare those chisels to some other ones that I got, some cheaper ones, because the ones that I got, it was like $1,000 for this setup. And so they're Trow and Holden. They're a company that's been around a while, but they're pretty well known. But their chisels, those ones are made to last a lifetime, basically, and they're really sturdy, but very expensive. The kit that I got was like $600 or $700, something like that, and it just comes with a couple pieces and or a couple tools. So it was a big investment. But if I can make one really well done stone sculpture, then I should be able to pay for the tools with that. And I paid for the tools with money that I got from selling stone sculptures, and so I wanted to reinvest that in my stone sculpting tools. So there is a reason for that. But I do want to compare them to, like, because you can get some chisels, some pneumatic chisels for a lot less, and so I wanted to compare some pneumatic chisels I got a while ago, some cheap ones, to these newer, nicer ones and see if you can get by with the cheaper ones versus the nice ones. And so yeah, I'm planning on doing that video. Maybe this week I'll do a video kind of reviewing those. But I haven't had a lot of time to work with them, so might not be a full review yet. Do you hold your breath while working on details, or is it just me? I probably do. I hold my breath a lot during during different things, and then I notice like, oh yeah, I've forgotten to breathe. I haven't even noticed. I'll have to look at the footage or something. Just listen to myself. But almost certainly I do, because I sometimes notice that I don't breathe as often as I probably should. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm probably going to be breathing differently than I would if I wasn't conscious of it. $1,000, wow. Well, it was like 200 and I purchased a compressor, and that was like 200 and something. I think it was 275 for the compressor, and then I got the tools, and so it was a chunk of change. I believe you can make it back on your sculptures. Yeah, well, that's hopefully I'll be able to sculpt some nice work with those tools. So somebody's saying, I could be wrong, but I think the corners of the mouth are sitting comparatively lower in the reference picture. What do you think? Yeah, the reference that I'm using for the mouth is actually a different photograph. It's one of him and his wife, and he's smiling just a little bit more. It's a little bit different of an expression, and so the corners of the mouth are raised just a little bit more, and so that's just kind of a choice. I mean, it's difficult when you're mixing photos because then you can't really base everything off of one single photo. So I have, gone back and forth between those, but but that's just kind of the choice that I made, using a different reference for the mouth than this particular photo. But I mean, let's look at it and just see, because it's fun to compare. Let's just blow up this picture, because I like doing this, and see. Kind of hard to align everything perfectly, but we'll just do the best we can. Let's see. So that's the bottom of the chin. Kind of hard to see. And got a corner of the mouth there. Let me switch the mode. It's hard to get it perfectly aligned because there's so many. And the perspective of the camera might also be different. I don't know what this camera that they used to take this photo was, probably like it might have been like an 800 millimeter, like it's really zoomed in. And the camera that I'm using, this one, is a 50 millimeter on a micro four thirds. So that, what is that, like an 80 or like a 75 millimeter equivalent. So the perspective is a little bit different. So it's not even something where you can like perfectly go by the, like just repeating the outlines, because there's more to it than that. But that's kind of where it's at right now. And I think this is a slightly different angle. It looks like this one, the camera's maybe a little bit higher, and then the one I have, the camera's a little bit lower. I guess we could raise the camera up a little bit. Try to give ourselves the best shot of let's see. Yeah, I don't know. It is tricky. think I need to turn this. I feel like the nose I've also pushed. Needs to be pushed a little bit. Maybe the tip of the nose. Pushed just slightly. I don't know. There's something about the nose that feels off now, so I'm just gonna. Sometimes I push things around and maybe I make it worse, but I'm seeing that the nose should maybe move the other way just a little bit. But it is tricky. It's tricky. You know, there's a lot to think about. Now I feel like that angle is too high. I don't know. It's tricky. But yeah, it's not gonna... I mean, one photo, it's difficult to work from a single... Well, I'm not working from a single photo, but any one photo, sometimes you'll notice that even like pictures of certain people, sometimes a photo won't look exactly like them. So even a picture of that person can look a little bit different. And I think he was a little bit younger in this one. I'm not sure when that was taken. I think his cheeks have filled out a little bit more than in this one, but it says, oh, that explains it. Do you also work with this sculpture off stream? I've tried to do this mostly on stream while I've been streaming, but I have done some work off. One day when I made a lot of changes and I think I made it a lot worse. I didn't the next day I didn't do the live streams because I was kind of embarrassed that I messed up what I thought was doing pretty well, and then I changed it and I seem to have made it, or I made it a little bit worse. But sometimes that's what happens. Things get a little bit worse before they get better. So let's see, I'm actually going to grab a mirror as well. Just to check myself, because I noticed that when I aligned it with the photo that some things looked off. So I'm just going to bring a mirror out as another way to check myself. I'll move this to the side a little bit. Yeah, that's why it's good to kind of overlay those photos from time to time, because I noticed that the nose was becoming crooked when I overlay those photos. And it's good to have, you know, other people give an eye on it, because then you get a better consensus on what needs to be changed. In fact, even the people that are like the negative comments that talk about how bad it is, they're often more informative than the comments that are just like complimenting it, even though I'm all for the compliments. But sometimes the haters that are like, oh, his face isn't like that, it's like this. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that it is like a little bit more like that. And so then those comments are actually kind of helpful because they sometimes people that are trying to be rude are more honest than those that are trying to be polite. And I'd rather have the honesty. Yeah, the depth of field must play a huge role as well. Yeah, well, not I think the depth of field isn't that like how blurry it is in the background or something, but it's the focal length is what really affects it. Because if you're really close with the camera, then the nose and all the features that are close to you are really blown out of proportion, and the ears become smaller. And so, like if he's taking a selfie or something, I think that's usually a 35 millimeter kind of a wide angle. But then the photo that I'm using that's up on the screen, that's a very telephoto, which means it's very zoomed in. And so, yeah, the focal length can affect it, but I think more so like how zoomed in the camera is, like, or how far away it is, and then zooming in usually gives you a little bit less distortion. But that means that if your camera that you're comparing it with is zoomed in, then it's not as fair of a comparison, of a visual comparison. So that's why it's usually you can't just go based off of overlapping them and just trying to get them to match. Though I've done that quite a bit with this one, and it has helped a lot with some of the process. It's helped quite a bit, but it's not a perfect system unless you account for all of those variables and do that. And at that point, you're basically taking it's basically a 3D scan, and you could get very accurate with that. And maybe I should do that, but that's just not the current process that I'm using to work. But every once in a while, it does help to align those. Do you think the right side of the nose was off? Well, it was crooked, so the nose was crooked. I just noticed that in the references. That's why I kind of pushed the nose around a little bit. So there was some crookedness to the nose. And that's just, those things just happen for whatever reason. We have a slanted view of reality, artists. So there's almost always one side of the face that wants to be slanted in a certain direction. So that's why having a mirror can be so helpful, because then you can kind of reverse it and then it tells you, oh, like you're able to see where you were off a little bit better. You're able to see the asymmetry a little bit better. That did help. That's so interesting. I never thought of adjusting for the camera. Yeah, it's something I never considered either until I did it. And then I would I'd take reference photos, but sometimes also like you're a little bit lower or you're a little bit higher than the, let's say, the eye line or the waist or something. And so that's something you also have to take into account, how far back you are, how zoomed in you are. And then there's just a bunch of other factors that you don't consider until you try to use those references in that way. And then you realize that it's actually pretty complicated, which is why it's so complicated getting a 3D scan from photos. They have apps that can now do that, but you need many, many, many photos from many different angles, and then it uses complex algorithms to piece everything together and to make a 3D scan. But 3D forms through a 2D screen are surprisingly difficult to understand and replicate. Yeah, it says, I understand it's people just being nice, and that's cool and all, but most of the time they won't tell you the flaws quicker, like your haters, because the haters try to weaponize the truth. But if you're mature, you can take the truth and become better. Well, yeah, hopefully that's hopefully what you can do when somebody says something, a critique that actually turns out to be true. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna bring this session to a conclusion. Let's maybe do a turnaround. Let me lower this a little bit. Back it up. Okay, let me turn this. So I did a little bit of work on the hair just to try to start that, but just at the front mostly simple, just the direction, trying to capture that. I need to get a bigger turntable that'll work better for this. The turntables that I have can't handle the weight of this sculpture at this point, so that's why I haven't been using those too much. But that's what it's looking like right now. Yeah, still a lot of work, but hopefully it keeps getting better. And I'll do the shoulders probably pretty soon. I got to build the setup for that, so maybe I'll do that next time, or we'll see. If you're interested in learning sculpture, I hope you'll check out the courses, or if you'd like to support, you can support me on Patreon or Gumroad, or yeah, just follow the links in the bio. I have some ebooks on an artist's X-ray vision, the male figure and the female figure, that are just helpful diagrams for artists. So you might find those helpful, helpful diagrams to help you see better if you're interested in figurative stuff. And yeah, stay creative, stay productive. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. So have a wonderful day, somebody says. Yeah, thank you. It's been fun chatting. Time to build another turntable? Yeah, for sure. All right, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you around.